Namaste. My name is Vivekananda. Welcome to this Hangout on Air. This is the second episode in a series which I have started with a view to help entrepreneurs who have lots and lots of ideas and would like to start lots of projects. In this episode, the focus is on business case, which forms the very basis of PRINCE2. I have great pleasure in welcoming my panel of experts today. I also want to wish happy birthday to Mark Traphagen. But I have to make an apology first and then set out the agenda for today. During launch episode, as we were getting close to the HOA time, my Chrome browser would not start and it was all panicky. So I had to use an alternative browser. Consequently, the look and feel was completely different. My HOA banner was missing, buttons were in different places, and so on. Though it would be easier to blame Google for doing changes to Chrome browser, I will not do that because I love Google, and I love Google because of the changes it makes. So it would not make any sense if I blame Google for making changes. So I apologize for the less than excellent experience the viewers had in the last episode. I also bungled it up a bit, but my Google Plus friends who were on the panel that day rescued me. The point is, we're all human and we have our faults. What you're seeing today is very human. It's not from any slick corporate marketing machine. And so we do have our faults. Let me tell you our agenda for today. We begin with just a minute where each panel member takes center stage and gives the viewers their 60-second pitch, followed by a short presentation covering the topic of the day. Today, it's going to be business case and how it relates to PRINCE2 methodology. That's why you see the crown on my head. Then we shall have a discussion with the panel members sharing their experiences and insights. I shall talk about what is coming up in the next episode and we conclude for today. My aim is half an hour, but I would not dare to cut off anyone when the discussion is lively and adding value. We have come to the just a minute section. Each of us will have a minute each and we shall give you our 60-second elevator pitches. There will be a penalty if you go over a minute. The penalty is you will have to say the sentence, integrate, simplify life 3 times. I would apply the same rule to myself, but the penalty for me would be decided by the panel members. Are you ready for it? Let me be the first victim. Let me do it first so that our panelists can decide how to penalize me. I have a 1-minute timer running here and here we go. My name is Vivekanand. Wake Technology is my company. I believe in living a simple life. I believe in thinking differently. I am proud to share my beliefs with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said, simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. How do you know if something is alive? That's a question for you. You know it is alive when it changes. This certainly applies to technology. To live a meaningful and comfortable life, you need to integrate technology. To integrate and simplify your life, contact me through my Google Plus page or my website, wake-technology.com. Hope that came in within 60 seconds. It is our guest's turn now. I shall call out each of your names and start a timer. I'll start off with the lady, Jessica.
Thank you. Good morning, Vivek. I'm so excited to be here with you and Scott and David. What a great morning. With my cup of tea in hand, at it being 6:06 a.m. in the Seattle area, I want to say that I have so much going on in this world, and I'm glad to be able to share it with you. The first is Red Direction, a business consulting firm that focuses on how we think about our message and our voice, and are we consistent in all areas of our business and life so that we can make the strongest relationships possible, which launched Infusion Principle with Nora Whalen, my cohort in crime or fellow tea fiend, whatever you want to call us at any point in time. Make sure it's nice. The idea behind Infusion Principle is that by coming together and working with other industry experts, we can grow our businesses successfully and sustainably.
That was great. Came well
I didn't
within.
even practice. I'm going to have to practice next time. I'm like 1 minute exactly, or I wouldn't mind saying your tagline over 3 times. That's not a problem. In fact, that would be helpful for me this morning, I'm sure.
Over to Scott.
So I have to remember to mute myself and starting the timer. Well, thank you. And Vivek, I'd like to say I loved your introduction, and I too love Google Plus, which might sound really strange to people who are not familiar with the platform. But you know, I think that we all love Google for sometimes many of the same reasons. We make our livelihood that way. I personally do the Scott treatment, which takes longer form videos and re-edits them into bite-sized pieces so that people can enjoy them over a longer period of time, just in time and on demand. So we make our livelihood there, but we also meet and cultivate friendships, and that's very much of an important part. And then, so that's to keep things within 60 seconds, I'll just have to keep things simple, which I intend to do. So thank you for having me on the show, and 54, 55, 6, 7, 8, back to you.
David.
Yes, Vivek. How can I help you today? 60 seconds. It won't take 60 seconds to share that today I am using my 40 years of marketing experiences in publishing, direct mail, direct marketing, teleservices, and the internet to create Google Plus communities with the ultimate goal that they can generate revenue. That's it.
Yeah, that was 30 seconds.
Was that? Did I take all of 30 seconds, Scott? Wow, I'll have to cut it down a little bit.
That was really great. I don't know who was applauding earlier. There was no applause.
Oh, I totally thought that was you, Vivek. I was like, right on. Well, thanks. That must have come in like exactly at 60 seconds. But was that you, Scott?
No, it wasn't me.
So far, I've been employing Google Special Effects, but I have to say, I tried to put a crown on my head and it slipped off every time. I couldn't keep the crown on.
Well, it's because you needed to try the halo instead.
Oh, there you go.
I was thinking it was the little
halo
horn.
doesn't quite fit me, Scott.
Actually, you need a halo with horns. I think that would be the best description, David.
Okay, we now have come to the topic of the day. I shall now show you a short presentation, and the panel is welcome to interject, interrupt, ask me questions if they have any, and generally enjoy. Here we go. So let me actually get rid of this crown for the moment because it's getting in the way. My original plan was to, oh, how do I get rid of that? Okay. Here's the agenda. I shall try to answer 3 questions. Why a business case is important, how to put business case together, how it is used to guide the project, and what does a typical business case look like. Let me address the question, why business case? The answer is the same as the answer to the fundamental question. Why are you doing the project in the first place? Every business has 2 competing imperatives. Maintain current business operations, transform business operations to survive and compete in the future. Projects are the means by which we introduce change. At this point, let me give you the definition of a project as per PRINCE2. Just to emphasize the point, I am reading what's already on this slide. A project is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. To put together a business case, you need the following. Reasons. You need to be clear about the reasons for the project. The reasons may be commercial, social, legal. There may be a legal requirement that you implement something, so that's one of them. And you need to state the reasons very clearly. Then you need to clearly state the business options available to you. The options available to you may be things like adopt new technology, hire new people, outsource, collaborate, buy controlling stakes in another company, etc., etc. Next, you need to clearly state the benefits you expect from the project. This may be increase in visitors to your website, increased market share, lower rejection by the customers, greater efficiency in manufacturing, better staff morale, and so on. You may have noticed that I am giving examples from wide-ranging fields, from e-commerce, retail, manufacturing to human resources, because your small business may be in any of these fields. PRINCE2 is still useful for you. You also need to clearly state the disbenefits that you would get as a result of the project. For example, if you implement a new IT system for your company, staff morale may get affected, and this would be a disbenefit. As a matter of fact, any business case which portrays a project to have no disbenefits at all is hiding big problems and should not be trusted at all. The business case should state the timescales. If timescales are not stated, you would find that the project drags on forever, and that is not good at all. Costs have to be very clearly stated. If you don't, then you cannot budget for the project at all. Let us consider how the business case is used throughout the life of the project. PRINCE2 methodology states that you need to have at least 2 stages for a project, and the business case is to be validated at every stage. And if it becomes invalid, the project should be closed. At every stage, the project board needs to ensure that the project is achieving what is planned, the benefits the product provides are still valid, and the product is deliverable. The project board consists of 3 roles essentially: executive, senior user, and senior supplier. And the project board controls the project. Let me introduce you to these roles. For this, I am going to use images of 3 different people as an example. But please note that these are just examples, and these are roles, not positions or jobs or people as such. These are roles. They may be combined if you need them. Senior executive is a role that represents the business interests of the project. This role chairs the project board and is in overall executive control of the project. This may be the business owner. Senior user is a role which would use the product and has the responsibility to make sure that the benefits stated in the business case are achievable, viable, and useful. Senior supplier represents the interests of the supplier who provides the products and the services for the project. The senior supplier would make sure that the supplier's interests are met as stated in the business case, and they can provide them at the agreed cost, time scales, etc. There is another role which is very important, and that is project manager role. Project manager is a role which has to take care of daily aspects of the project. We now move on to what a typical business case looks like. These are the headings that are recommended to be in a business case by PRINCE2. Now, I need to pin one of you, David or Jessica or Scott, to do a screen share. I'm going to pin Scott because that's the way Ronnie Binzer says we should actually do the screen share.
While you're switching, we have a comment. Preston's watching. Hi, Preston. He says, David Leopold, 60 seconds, simple. And then Jess and Scott, good job, everyone. Live is not working well on my end. Huge delay. Well, I'm glad you're here, Preston, and I'm sure it'll catch up at some point.
That's great to know Preston is with us.
Mm-hmm.
These are the headings that you see on the screen. These are the ones that are recommended. Now, I actually will have to rattle through the presentation. Let me talk about the reasons for doing this very series that you are watching. I'm being honest here, and one of the reasons is improving wake technology brand awareness amongst small businesses. Traditional ways of marketing campaign are too expensive. Social media is very popular amongst emerging market segments and target customers, and hence should better be used effectively. Increased exposure on YouTube and Google Plus makes it easier for ranking on Google search engine. Hangout on Air or HOA technology has very little costs associated with it, but has international appeal. We have now come to the next section, business options. This should have at least two of the three options I'm going to explain here. First one is do nothing option. If this option is taken, it's likely that someone else takes up the opportunity and gains market share. The opportunity then becomes a threat from competitors. Second option is do minimal option. If Wake only relies on word of mouth campaigns by personally attending network meetings, HIRL as they are now called, the costs associated with attending such meetings will only increase, and the return on investment for such activity is unknown and very hard to measure. This activity is ongoing but has not provided any significant ROI yet. Third option is do something option. Create Hangout on Air events, host them, share information, gain confidence of the target audience, participate in online discussions about project management for small businesses. Now, let me talk about the next very important section, expected benefits. Creating a HOA series and providing useful information about how to manage projects to the viewers increases awareness amongst small business owners. Public HOAs create YouTube videos automatically, and this means automatically there would be exposure on Google Plus as well as YouTube. These actions are expected to result in increased brand awareness, gain perceived authority on subject matter of project management. As I said before, no business case will be telling you the truth if it did not contain the expected disbenefits. Let us talk about them. Time and effort is spent without immediate ROI. This causes stress, increased stress. Wake gets associated with PRINCE2 methodology, which many small businesses believe to be overly bureaucratic, rightly or wrongly, and lose possible business from them. This is also actually a risk factor. Now, let me talk about another important section, time scale. Creation of HOA series and hosting them may take 5 to 6 weeks with one HOA every week. The benefits are expected to start to accrue around halfway through the HOA series. Business case should contain a section on costs, and so let me talk about them. Time and effort involved in creating HOA event page, modifying Wake website to include the events that have already been completed as it is. This event, you can see it on my website as well, and you will be able to watch it later on as well. Time and effort involved in creating short presentation and trailer for each event. These are the costs. Time and effort involved in creating the actual presentation to be shown during the event, which is what you are seeing now. And then let me move on to the next section in the business case. The investment appraisal contains confidential information, and sadly, I cannot share it here. There are tools available to fill in this section which take financial information, etc., and give you the information to fill in this section. And now we have come to the next section, major risks. Social media itself is risky business. I'm not a marketer myself, and yet I have to create and make presentations. I'm more of a technician as Michael Gerber puts it in his E-Myth book. The major risk is my presentations may turn away prospective clients. In fact, they may fall asleep. I'm just checking, are our panel members still with me? Hope I have not already put you to sleep.
You haven't put us to sleep, but I'm wondering, Vivek, I'm wondering if we take a quick break and if we recap some of this in a different way, and could we put a story around it, that a different story around it, because your story is wonderful, and I'm wondering if an additional application of everything that you're talking about would be useful to help people connect the dots that are here, in the sense that, you know, I think about this and I love everything. I'm all ears, I'm almost drooling, I'm so excited. This is the stuff that I really like about businesses. And it's the stuff people don't like to talk about a whole lot or think about. So when we're talking about like the investment of time, and so and you're using this project, your Hangout, as the example here. So what if it was something as simple as starting out on social media? How would thinking about that, and in terms of, okay, so what is the project management? I know I'm not going to get an immediate result, just like the Hangout piece. I know it's going to take me something like, it might take me 3 weeks to start seeing results, but if I don't have a network I'm bringing with me into my social media, if I'm starting out as a business or a new brand, or I've done a brand change, that waiting time is a lot longer. So 3 weeks might seem like an eternity for a Hangout, but if I'm actually doing branding, the branding piece and the message and that connection, I mean, that's going to take 6 or 9 or 12 months to start to really settle in.
Yeah, so I agree with, and those are kind of risks that you are talking about there. Here's one more. Information presented may become old over time, rendering YouTube videos and all the brand awareness useless.
Yes, especially because when we're thinking about things like, you know, there's this term called evergreen, and I know the more people that I talk to, evergreen is actually one of those things like acronyms. Unless you're in the know and unless you run in the right circles, people don't know what evergreen content is. So I love that you're using shelf life. And another idea of how to say shelf life would be, is it like the news where it comes and goes and it's going to ebb and flow based off of macro and micro events that are affecting how we do what we do, or why we do what we do, or how we think what we think? Whereas something that is going to have a longer shelf life or be evergreen is something that is timeless. And for me, you know, I think of people like Jackie Kennedy or Eleanor Roosevelt, or amazing people of that caliber, that everything they said when they said it still applies today for us when we say it or we think it. And so it's got that timeless element that is very useful, and that's where I know in marketing we end up with things like frequently asked questions, and customer support has all the stuff that they make on all of these websites about how to get the information you want, because they're getting the same 500 questions a day in these big call centers and these big customer service centers, and trying to find time to be personable in that is actually hard, and I think that's also a risk. So when we're putting something together, you know, we have to make sure we're working from our customer side and our side, and where do we find that balance for conversation?
Another major risk I have identified here is the HOA series may fail to attract important and influential guests. Those may fail to realize expected benefits.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
About that? So when we think about a major risk like failing to attract influencers, can you define influencer in this case and how it might be applied, how that might change for different projects? Because I don't think influencers are always the same.
That's true. That's true. But That has to be evaluated over time. What I'm doing here is identifying the risks and
Okay.
defining each term can.
I think we're all chomping at the bit to contribute. Uh, how far through the presentation are you, Avec? Are you within a few bullet points?
Quite a bit to go. let me rattle through, and then I think yeah, there is plenty of time for each of uh, you to add okay. Another risk I have identified is HOA technology itself may completely change, rendering the information presented useless. Can happen. Never know. And you may think this is a funny one, or may even think that as a part of self-limiting belief. The HOA series may become too successful and I may be unable to meet the customer expectations. How about that? Let me bring that what slide again, which shows all the sections I have just covered. I shall leave that for a few seconds, and yeah, that actually brings me to the end of this topic of the day presentation. And let me now come back into your view. Hopefully that presentation was worthwhile.
Wow. I don't know who's. We all want to jump in, so I'm going to be selfish and I'm going to be the first one to do that.
Yeah, go on.
And that is to say that there are a lot of us who are just really can empathize or associate ourselves with what you said, Vivek. What a terrific series that you've got going. The internet is facilitating a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs and so forth to be able to organize themselves in new ways. So we all come around in terms of projects, and it's almost a seminal way of doing business going forward in the 21st century. So here you are, and we all bring something to the table. And one of the things that you're bringing to the table is, well, if you're going to let that be a foundational piece of your business, it's project management that's going to assist to do that. So what you're doing, what I see you're doing, is that you're branding yourself as the go-to person for that component, which is one of, I think you identified 4 or 5 very key roles that can be played for any successful business. And we need that. And it's not necessarily that if I understand you correctly, we could all assume that role, but at a certain point, how much can you carry on yourself and how much expertise can you bring to the table? Better bring the right people at the right time and go from there. So you're either training other people to, well, you are alerting people to say that they need to bring project management to bear, and they can find it, or to become that themselves, or they could possibly even use you. But it's just incredibly valuable information that you're sharing. So thank you. And your whole concept about boards was very intriguing to me too. I hope that we have some time to talk about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of my questions, Vivek. As you did your presentation, are you looking as the presentation for a way of small businesses to define their raison d'etre, so to speak, or are you looking necessarily within the business itself and answering the question, why do we pick to do the things that we do, and we pick certain things to build a business case? And I think you've got a good you have a good cross section of folks on this panel, and let's use that as a practical way of looking at things. Scott is very, very project oriented. He has projects that he does based upon his incredible skills to take an HOA, edit it, and put it down into something very simple and something that can be used for marketing reasons. So he looks at everything he does is very project. He's doing this project for this person, this one for this person, this one for this person. In much the same fashion, Jess has her new business, and particularly a case study of her new business model, her collaboration with Nora Whalen, also presents itself very well because they were probably thinking about many of these same things, maybe not putting them in the organized fashion that you have, but as they were building their business concept, and that kind of segues into the business plan. Are we talking about a business plan that you're presenting here? And it could be, or something within that business itself. So Jess, as a consultant, she looks at the big picture, but then when she picks a client to engage and do work with, then it becomes more of a project orientation. Is that kind of a good way to look at it, Jess?
I think yes, and I would also say that one of the things I'm seeing here in this presentation is it's about roles. And so today we learned a lot about all the different pieces that make up a good project plan and some of the perspectives that we need to be able to utilize. And when we're one person, that's really hard. It doesn't matter if it's a business consultant. It doesn't matter if it's somebody who is, out relationship selling. It doesn't matter if I have a widget. It doesn't matter if I have a storefront. There are all of these projects that I will have to wear all of these different hats for, and I think it's really neat in terms of that to see what does this picture look like to build a project. And I would say, David, that I'm a top-down thinker all the way around because of the way that I listen and do things. So yes, when I am talking about an idea or talking about a concept, that's really the project of Red Direction, or that's really the project of Infusion Principle. And then you're right, we have to turn that whole thing on its head. And then when we're working with our clients or having conversations online or answering questions, I say turn on its head because it's not the same project. It is some of the same ideas, but they have a very different feel. They have a very different meaning, and I may not use all of them all of the time.
Well, they have a very specific focus once you get it down to the client one-on-one experience, whereas the big picture obviously is something very conceptual, something that you think about. So that the model that Vivek presented, I think, works in both areas. It works as you're trying to define your business and what it is your business does, but then when it gets down to the project level, then that's what the client really wants to know. They want to know, boom, 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 all these things are going to happen. We're going to define roles. Each individual is going to have certain accountability to the whole project. So it breaks it down. So what he's doing is what he's presented is very conceptual as well as very practical in defining specifically what it is we need to do in a project.
So I have a question for Vivek, and that is when you were starting off at I had a little light bulb go off in my head, and it was that Vivek is not talking about products. He's talking he's talking about projects and not products. And so, because there are things to running a business that are not products, that it's the branding and so forth. So is what you're talking about for the non-deliverables, and this is how to stage all of the pieces of your business so that you can be competitive, or does it apply? Can it also apply to the end result, which would be the service or the product that is given to the client, who then obviously turns around and pays you for it?
It's actually the focus is on product. The focus is on product. Delivering the product is a project because the product itself embodies change. you want something to happen, you want change to happen, which may need a new product, which may need it. A product could be as simple as a document. It could be as simple as, for example, you go to a, you have a, yeah.
I see what you're saying, and as soon as you said that, I went, oh, now I get it. Now I understand where I'm at. I'm in the land of structure.
So
Organization.
So there's a product, or there's something at the end of the road, but the document is not what you sell to. You sell a widget,
Right.
You don't sell a document. But
You
in order
can,
for
no, sorry,
well,
you can, but that's the whole point. What I was saying was, let's say you have an empty plot of land and you want to put a building there. You go to a civil engineer or an architect or someone like that, and you hire the services. What do they give you in the end? They give you a plan. They give you a blueprint, or on a sheet of paper. They make a drawing and present it to you. That's a document.
Yes.
It still is a product.
Yes. Good point.
So, okay, so I want to look at this from a slightly different perspective, because I was listening and I understand all this stuff, but when you actually ask me practical application, and then the way David presented it, I'm like, that's not how I work at all. And now I know why. Because this, and it's just my brain doesn't work this way. So I love this structure piece because it is so important to understand the basics. It's like being able to add before you do algebra. You have to have a basis. Now, just because you have that basis doesn't mean that you have to follow this particular type of a plan. You can then bring in the strengths from your personality or the people elements from the team you're working with to define what the ideas of this role actually are to facilitate. So for me, this is really cool to know about, but for me it's all about action. And so I'm like, who needs a plan? Let's just get out there and start doing things, which is good, but it also has, it changes the weight of all the different pieces of what you were talking about in the plan.
Yeah, let me put the scenario in a slightly different way. It's like creativity involves some chaos.
Yes.
Creativity invariably involves some chaos. So children, as an example, I mean, children are very creative. And how do you nurture the creativity in them? You create a space which is safe for them. You create a structure within which they can do whatever they want, but within that structure. So you have a structure, a framework, and then you let the child into the area and let the child do whatever it wants, create. So
a synonym of a project manager is a facilitator. Would that be a fair statement?
yes, it would be a facilitator. It would be that, and it's also a case where project manager is someone who makes sure that things go according to plan, and if things are and what the project manager is supposed to do is, if things are going the wrong way, he or she needs to spot it and either change the project itself if required, or make correct the person. I mean, going in the wrong. No, tell the person that that's not the way to go. Give them
another synonym might be dictator, benevolent or not.
Oh.
I'm making a joke, but maybe
you are making a joke.
As with every joke, there might be a seed of truth to it.
Yeah, it all depends on how forceful you are, or how in what way you're doing it, and do the other person, do they trust you, or do they what's the relation? Is there a trust relationship, or is it if they think that they have to protect themselves and you have to protect yourself, then the whole thing will not work. Nothing will work.
Right. And so here's if I'm thinking about the three areas that I work in and I think about, one is structure. That's what we're talking about here. Roles, processes, building a project to be able to understand. Then we have the action, going and getting the things done. Where are the resources? What are the actions that need to occur? And then the third piece is perception. Who is holding the space of the vision of all of the minds that came together to make this plan?
Mm. It's as I said in my project board, it's the role of the executive. Executive may be the business owner who has a vision of what needs to happen, where the direction to take, the product, whatever, the business reasons why they are doing it, and so on. But the actual work is done by somebody else.
I have a friend who kind of plays the role of the executive for a project that I was on, and he phrased it that he was sort of like the captain of a ship. So he was able to go to dinner, metaphorically, and sit at a table and talk to all of the passengers on this luxury cruise liner, and then but there were people back in the engine room, thank you, and in the pilot house and so forth, and they were running the ship. Now he knows everything about running the ship and all of those sorts of things. It's just that there are others who are doing all of those different roles. Is that a good metaphor for what you were just saying?
Yeah.
Back to your question, Scott, of a couple minutes ago. A facilitator will not necessarily make a good project manager. It all depends upon the definition of the project. But a project manager has to be a facilitator. So a project manager has to have grasp of the details, whatever it takes to make the project go. But the facilitator is the one that plants the seed and keeps it growing.
So a facilitator has to have good people skills, and as does a project manager. But they're really two separate roles.
I believe so. I have always been a facilitator in my lifetime. That's my strongest personal characteristic, is my ability to facilitate. There's been a certain point in my life where I was a project manager of a very well-defined, specific project, goals and objectives, all the things that Vivek went through in the presentation. I had to have a grasp of all of those. And back to Jess's question, I think I enjoy my role as facilitator immensely. When it comes to project management, it's a different role. Because you have to be better organized, you have to be more detail-oriented, and those aren't necessarily great skills of mine. So
it's like, and I wish I had a giraffe analogy, but I don't. I have a bear analogy.
I'll give you a giraffe analogy.
Okay, so here, all grizzly bears are brown bears, but not all brown bears are grizzly bears. So I think, which is kind of hard to wrap your head around. So when I wanted to put a different, literally, animal with it, because when you say that with words or roles, sometimes that's hard to think about. Or maybe all horse. I don't know. I want to throw something about unicorns in, but it's not coming to me at the moment. So, but I find this the most interesting because a personality and the personal strengths, like David, what you were just talking about, really define what that space that Vivek was sharing about earlier, creating that space, what that space is going to look like. And they're more than, this is whoever is owning this, whether it's, and this is the interesting part, because yes, the executive, the CEO, the head of the company, whoever is tasked with this mission has one big umbrella, and it's really challenging to hold that big umbrella with all of the other projects in it that have to occur concurrently or congruent, I don't know what the right, I think concurrently at the same time for all of these different pieces to work together. And that's where I really think when we think about this, as cool as this process is, it is only successful when the right people are in the right positions at the right time to utilize their personal strength.
For the right reason.
Yes. Yes. I like that addition, Vivek. Yes.
Wow, this is such great information. And for some it might be a review, and for some it might be new, and for some it might be just filling in a couple of gaps. So what's going to be happening in next week and in the following weeks, Vivek?
Yeah, next week I would be talking about the plan concept. Project plan and how it is created, how it is used. There are different project plan types. There are things like stage plan, the project plan, and so on. There lots of different things. And I mean, the whole concept, as I was mentioning in the introductory session, the previous episode, the PRINCE2 concept has to be tailored. It's not prescriptive, it's descriptive. It describes what needs to happen, how it needs to happen, and so on and so forth, but it stops short of saying how it should happen. It does not tell you that these are the tools that you should use. No, it doesn't say that. It suggests these are the tools which may be useful for you, but it leaves the decisions for you to decide which one is right for you and go with it. So in that sense, yeah, the tailoring is really very important, and project plan is what I'm going to talk about next week. And yeah, the guest who is going to appear is a mystery. And you'll have to watch this space.
Okay. Wow. Thank you, Vivek. Looking forward.
Yeah, and yeah, we have come to towards the end of the show now, and I'm giving the floor once again to each of you, and your closing comments, please.
I'll jump in with the first one. If I had heard this presentation 20 years ago, my life would have taken a little different path than it took. But then again, the other side of it is maybe I wouldn't be sitting here today if I took a different path 20 years ago. So thank you for sharing some wonderful thoughts and something that we can share with other folks, because to Jess's point, there's a lot of structure here. There's a lot of organization here. Two things that I've needed in my life. So like I said, I should have heard this 20 years ago.
There has to be, yeah, there has to be a balance between structure and chaos. If there is no balance, it's either going to be all completely structured and boring, or completely chaotic and nothing worthwhile happens. So there has to be a balance. So yes, you're right.
Well, I think you've lit upon something in terms of taking PRINCE2, which is something that's very deep, and I'm sure that there are volumes and volumes written about it, and you have taken the time to learn it first yourself, and then secondly, to figure out how to present it in this particular format for this particular audience so that we can be exposed to it and start wrapping our head around it. So this is really a terrific service that you're providing, and a wonderful wonderful platform that you are marrying the information that's been, that's there, and presenting it in a way that we can actually start absorbing it. So this is actually a pretty terrific thing, Vivek. Thank you for doing it.
Yes, And to just sum up my thought is I'm all about the people side of things. So if this was something like me, I like structure just enough to make it so that action can occur. When you get too much, which is actually very easy to do for me, I start finding myself stuck in this place of structure, and it's overwhelming because it feels too built, like there's no room for creativity or spontaneity. And not to say that it is or isn't, it depends on the overall structure. But if you tend, and I would say, so like for me, if you're like me and you don't like it when there's too much planning that has to occur, find somebody that loves the planning to do that part for you and be able to explain it to you so that you can get excited about it and understand the ability of what is possible by having this type of a plan, because it is incredibly important in business. And so that's something that I figured out. Instead of not doing it because it's not that I can't do it. I can do it and I'm very good at it. I don't like to do it, and it drains all of my energy away, so I don't have any energy left to actually do the stuff that I get excited about. So if you find yourself with that energy drain, how cool is it that there is this huge resource of people that you can connect with, start to network with, build relationships with, that you can then partner with or collaborate with, or have them consult with you and pay for their services, so that you can get the piece of this Prince program that you need and have the right things in hand to make great actionable decisions, because it's that you're going out of your way to have purposeful action and create opportunity.
Excellent, excellent. I'm sure you all would want to know more, and that this is a series of HOAs. There is more to come, and you can reach me through my Google Plus profile or through my website, wake-technology.com. And we have, my aim was half an hour, but we have nearly hit an hour. It was, as I said, I was not going to stop useful discussion happening. And you all have added tremendous value to what I have been doing. So yes, I agree. All of us add value to one another, and together, let's grow. And my closing words would be: integrate, simplify life. Thank you.